Hello, and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and Books. Today I'm going to start telling you about some book releases for 2025 that I have on my radar that I'm excited about. I've had this list that I've been adding to for ages, and last year I ended up with so many books that I split it into 3 videos so that it wasn't so long, and this time around I think I'm going to have to split it into 4. I don't know, I have a lot of books to talk about. So today I'm just going to start with the January books. And then yeah, same as last year, if you want to see more books, I'm going to have a couple more videos coming out with the remainder of the books. And I'm going chronologically starting from January and moving throughout the year. Just of the books that I've heard about so far, feel free to let me know what books you're excited about. I'm sure I've missed some, even though I've been adding to this list, I'm sure there's plenty that I've missed. So starting off with a book that says it is expected to be published on the 1st of January, but I don't know if that's just a placeholder date because it doesn't even have a cover. So I'm guessing that's also a placeholder date. This one is called Cold Wire by Chloe Gong. I have read from Chloe Gong before and I would be convinced to pick up from her again. I'm not a huge fantasy girl, but you know, I am trying to dip my toes in the fantasy world. There's honestly not much that it says on the Goodreads page about these. Oh, by the way, I'm going to have all of the links below for all of the individual Goodreads links. So if there's a book that interests you, you can go and find the exact link to it so you can add it to your list. But yeah, sci-fi is a bit scary to me, but young adult means it might not be as crazy. Set in the near future where life has moved to virtual reality following an ousted corporate soldier racing to clear her name of treason alongside the enemy who is truly guilty. Moving on, switching genres, I now have a romance book. This one is called Well Actually by Maisie Eddings. I'm very excited about this one. I should have a vlog going up soon with a book by Maisie Eddings in it that I'm very excited to share with you. This one also says expected date January 1st, and it's also tagged as queer, so one or both of the characters are queer, I guess. Eva Kitt never expected to be the host of Sausage Talk, interviewing B-list celebrities over lukewarm hot dogs, instead of pursuing the journalism career she dreamed of. But when Eva's impromptu public call out of her college ex goes viral, she's thrust into the spotlight. It doesn't help, said ex is Riley Cooper, a beloved social media personality that has built a platform on deconstructing toxic masculinity and teaching men how to be good partners. Forced to confront Riley on a live episode of Sausage Talk, he offers Eva a deal. Allow him to take her on a series of dates to make up for his toxic behavior, then debrief them on his channel to show he's changed. Eva refuses to play nice, but agrees to the scheme to advance her own career and continue defaming Riley's good name. When these manufactured dates start to feel real, Eva has to wonder if the boy that broke her heart has become the man that might heal it. Interesting. I don't know how much I want to read a book about a man who claims he has changed, but it's on the list. I would love to pick up from this author again. Next up, I'm very excited for this one. I put my name down for the publisher to receive an early copy. I don't know if I'm going to get it. So if the publisher is watching this, please send this to me. But this one is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This one says it is expected to be published on January 14. Tagged as horror, fantasy, witches. We're following girls who are sent to the Wayward home in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. We're following a 15-year-old girl in 1970 who is pregnant, terrified, and alone. She meets a dozen other girls in the same predicament. Then they meet a librarian who gives them an occult book about witchcraft, and power is in the hands of the girls for the first time in their life. I'm really, really excited for this one. I think I've only read one Grady Hendrix so far. I just feel like people rave about him so much. I didn't love the book that I read, but I was interested enough to pick up more from him in future, and this one sounds right up my alley, and this US edition is so pretty. I really, really love the cover. Moving on, this one's part of a series that I have not started, but I do want to get into this author's work. This is Once Smitten, Twice Shy by Chloe Leese, expected to be published January 14. This is a romance book. Star-crossed lovers learn that practicing romance leads to the perfect happy ending in this steamy reimagining of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. I'm not really that familiar with Shakespeare's work. I feel like people who enjoy it probably would enjoy reimaginings more, but it's on the list and I love a pink cover. Next up, we have one that's tagged as fantasy romance magical realism. realism. This one is called Watermoon. All right, I've already gotten interrupted. By Samantha Soto Yambao. I don't know exactly the pronunciation for that, but this also says January 14. A woman inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets and then embarks on a magical journey when a charming young physicist wanders into the shop in this dreamlike and enchanting fantasy novel. So it's set in Tokyo. Wait, is this translated? No, it's not. It just sounds like a lot of those translated books where it's like, yeah, magical realism. Interesting. So it's in Tokyo. Most will see a cozy ramen restaurant, and only the chosen ones, those who are lost, will find a place to pawn their life choices and deepest regrets. Wow, this is a really interesting premise, and I'm really excited to hopefully read this one. Next up, again, January 14. This is Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. This one is tagged as science fiction, which is a bit scary, but the synopsis on Goodreads says, the future of storytelling is here. Life has thrown Zilu some curveballs over the years, but when she's suddenly dropped from her university job and her latest novel is rejected, all in the middle of her sister's wedding, her life is upended. Disabled, unemployed, and from a nosy, high-achieving, judgmental family, she's not sure what comes next. In a hotel room that night, she takes the risk that will define her life. She decides to write a book very unlike the others, a science fiction drama about androids and the AI after the extinction of humanity, and everything changes. Interesting. Next up, this one is called Brewed with Love by Shelley Page. Again, January 14. It says a cozy contemporary romantasy about a teen witch who wants to keep her family's apothecary from falling into the competition, but can only do so with the assistance from her first crush. This is young adult, but it's also tagged as lesbian, so the romantasy mentioned in the synopsis did kind of scare me, though, I will say that. This one is called Flirting with Disaster by Naina Kumar. She needs a divorce from her husband, but a hurricane threatens to dredge up their stormy, passionate past in this sizzling reimagining of Sweet Home Alabama from the best-selling author of Say You'll Be Mine. It's been years since Mina has seen her husband, years since they first laid eyes on each other back home in Texas, years since they eloped in Las Vegas and she felt true happiness. A high-powered lawyer ready to move on, or at least she thinks so, with another successful lawyer. Interesting. She's returned home, this time to finally obtain a divorce. So it looks like second chance romance. I guess she's going to re-fall in love with the husband that she's trying to divorce, which is really interesting. This one's translated. It says expected to be published on the 16th of January. Orome? I don't know the pronunciation at the moment. It's tagged as historical fiction. It says a journalist finds himself embroiled in a disastrous government campaign, as well as a sweeping romance in this landmark English translation of Ethiopia's most famous novel. An engrossing political thriller and a tale of love and war for readers of people that I don't know. I feel like I haven't read any books that are set in Ethiopia. So historical fiction does scare me a little bit sometimes, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I want to give this one a try. Plus, I really love green and pink, so the cover is appealing to me. This one is, again, 16th of January. It says, So Thrilled For You by Holly Bourne. It says, Nikki, Lauren, Charlotte, and Steffi have been friends since university. Now in their 30s, life is pulling them in different directions, but when Charlotte organizes the baby shower of hell for pregnant Nikki, the girls are reunited. Under a sweltering hot summer's day, tensions rise, and by the end of the evening, nothing will ever be the same. Someone started a fire at the house, everyone's a suspect. Interesting, so it's also tagged as mystery. Big Little Lies meets Really Good Actually, which Big Little Lies is one of my favorite books, or is my favorite book, and Really Good Actually I hated, so this is interesting. Okay, this one is called A Serial Killer's Guide to Marriage by Asia McKay. It's tagged as thriller and mystery. It says, the couple that kills together stays together. Hazel and Fox are an ordinary married couple with a baby, except for one small thing. They're ex-serial killers. Okay, so they used to be serial killers. She fell pregnant and they have not partaken in that life, but recently she started to feel that itch again. When she kills someone behind Fox's back and brings the police to their door, she must do anything she can to protect her family. That is an interesting premise. This one is a fiction book called The Life Cycle of the Common Octopus by Emma Knight. Oh, I don't have these in order because this says 7th of January, so excuse that. A spellbinding debut about friendship, motherhood, first love, and the choices that bind us. A witty, atmospheric, and brilliantly told novel that offers compelling portraits of womanhood, motherhood, and female friendship, along with the irresistible intrigue surrounding an extraordinary British family. I don't know, honestly, octopus in the title is what drew me into this one. This one is called Temple of Swoon by Joe Segura. Again, the date is wrong. I don't know if dates got switched since I added them to my list, but anyway, the 7th of January. Her mission, find the lost city of the moon in the Amazon rainforest. His mission, protect the holy temple and his heart. This is like a romance book where the character's an archaeologist. Yeah, has joined the archaeological team. Now, I have never read an archaeology romance, so this could be an interesting one. This one is called The Broposal by Sonora Reyes, expected to be published on the 21st of January. In this Latinx adult romance debut from National Book Award finalist Sonora Reyes, two friends enter into a marriage of convenience to save one from deportation, but everything changes when they unexpectedly fall in love. That sounds so fun. It's not even fake dating or fake engagement. This is fake marriage and they end up falling in love. Super fun. This one is called Moth Eater by Linda H. Kodega on the 21st of January. A nuanced queer fantasy set amid the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia. The last witch of the ridge must choose sides in a clash between industry and nature. It's tagged as fantasy, horror, and queer, which is intriguing to me. Her best friend dies in a coal mine. She sacrifices her job, her relationship, and reputation to uncover what's killing miners in the mountain. Then she finds a half-drowned white woman in a dirty mine slough. She takes her in because it's right, but also because she hopes this odd magnetic stranger can lead her to the proof she needs. Interesting. Okay, this next one is another queer romance. This is called The Relationship Mechanic by Carmen Lee. I have read the first book in this series, and I would be convinced to read on in the series because it's a sapphic romance and I love sapphic romances. So Jessica J. Miller came to Peach Blossom, Georgia for a visit, not a breakdown. When her rental car dies on the outskirts of town, mechanic Lavender Vinnie Williams provides a tow and a very welcome jumpstart to Jessica's heart. So the character Vinnie is in the first book. So yeah, this is a short one and the first one was on Kindle Unlimited, so if the second one is, I would read on as well. Next, on the 28th of January, we have Blob, a love story by Maggie Sue. This one I already have an arc for. I've had it for ages and I've been holding off because I want to read it in the new year when it actually comes out. So this is a debut novel about a young woman who decides to turn a sentient blob into her perfect boyfriend. So she is the daughter of a Taiwanese father and a white mother. You know, I love a mixed race character. She's never quite fit into her college town, and now at 23 she's getting dumped and dropping out of college. When she decides to accompany Rachel to a local drag show, her life changes forever. In the alley outside the bar next to a trash can is a blob with beady black eyes. Unable to leave it behind, she picks up the creature and, in a moment of drunken desperation, takes it home with her. As her blob becomes sentient, she realizes it obeys her commands, and she decides to mold the blob into her ideal partner. And this sounds so crazy and interesting, and I'm really excited to get into my arc. Next up, 28th of January again, we have Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. This is following high school sweethearts Sarah and Caleb. For the past 17 years, they've had each other's backs through all life's ups and downs. But Sarah has begun to wonder who she is without her other half. When she decides to take on a project of her own, a fundraising gala, she's still her mother's daughter, after all, independent and capable. That is until the event fails and Caleb uninvitedly steps in to save the day. The rift that follows unearths a decade of grievances between them, and doubts begin to grow. Are they truly the same people they were when they got married at 19? Are they supposed to be? Interesting. So it's like a second chance romance, I guess. I just hear people raving about this author, so I really want to try her out. This one is a romance novel, but it says young adult, but also magical realism is tagged here. This is I'm Not Jessica Chen by Anne Lang. After getting rejected by every single Ivy League she applied to and falling short of all her Asian immigrant parents' expectations, 17-year-old Jenna Chen makes a wish to become her smarter, infinitely more successful Harvard-bound cousin, Jessica Chen, only for her wish to come true, literally. Now trapped inside Jessica's body with access to Jessica's most private journals and secrets, Jenna soon discovers that being the top student at the elite, highly competitive Havenwood Private Academy isn't quite what she imagined. So it's like a Freaky Friday vibe where they swap bodies, I guess. Normally I wouldn't read a young adult romance, but this does sound interesting. Next up, another fiction book, we have We Could Be Rats by Emily R. Austin. Love a pink cover. And the 28th of January again. A moving story about two very different sisters and a love letter to childhood, growing up, and the power of imagination. From the best-selling author of Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead and Interesting Facts About Space. But having always resisted the idea of growing up into the trappings of adulthood, she did not graduate high school, preferring to roam the streets of her small town with her best friend, Greta. The only person person in the world who ever understood her. Her older sister, Margaret, is baffled and frustrated by Sigrid's inability to conform to the expectations of polite society. Okay, so it's a sister story, which I do think I'm interested in. What unfolds is an unforgettable story of two sisters finding their way back to each other and a celebration of that transcendent, unshakable bond. Okay, so the sisters, I guess, are not getting along, and it's about them coming back together. Interesting. And I also really like the pink cover, but I don't think Australia gets a pink one. Yeah, I think we get this one. Next up, another romance. This one's tagged as young adult, but it is lesbian, so I would consider reading it. This one's called It's a Love Skate Relationship, expected the 28th again. Enemies to lovers romance between a hothead hockey player and the ice princess at the figure skating rink next door. Hockey romance is obviously all the rage at the moment, but this is a sapphic one, so I am really interested in it. I may wait for some reviews to come in first though, because young adult and me are not always two things that get along. Almost to the end, I have I Think They Love You by Julian Winters, again the 28th of January. This is another queer romance. Sometimes fake dating your ex can turn into a second chance. Okay, we love fake dating. Don't always love second chance, but I am willing to pick it up. Okay, his workaholic father unexpectedly announces his retirement. The competition is on for who will become his successor. To convince his judgmental family members that he's capable of commitment, he impulsively lies about being in a serious relationship. Problem is, the last serious relationship he was in hung him high and dry after leaving the continent. Okay, now he needs a fake boyfriend to bring to family functions. Next, I have a historical fiction, which I don't always read. This is called The Artist by Lucy Steeds, expected the 30th of January. In 1920, home to the reclusive painter and his niece Etty, into the strange silent house walks a young journalist hoping to write an article about this artist. Okay, but the more he entangles himself in the peculiar household, the more Joseph's curiosity grows. Etty cooks and cleans for her uncle. She prepares his studio, scrubs his paintbrushes, and creates the perfect environment for him to work. She has never gone further than the local village. She is sharp-eyed and watchful, but beneath her cool exterior, Joseph senses something simmering. The Artist is about two people grabbing the other by the hand and pulling each other into life. Lastly for this video, because I feel like it's getting long, this one is my last one for January, Hero, a Love Story by Katie Buckley. A captivating literary debut and a love story for a novel, I don't know, that sentence, I don't know if I read that sentence wrong or if it's a sentence, that exposes the precious things women give up in order to be loved and in order to be free. She's a waitress, he's a chef. They used to be best friends and now they're in love and living together in a studio apartment. When he asks her to marry him, Hero panics. She's a lot of things, but one thing she doesn't want to be is anyone's wife. Hero is a love story and a story about what it means for women to be supporting characters in a world written by men. How can you be yourself when you are a product of other people's imaginations? How can you love another person and be free? Really interesting. Definitely sounds like something that I would personally read, so I'm excited to see that one come out and what reviews say. I think that was around 25 and I think I have 100 total, so I'm gonna have to split it into 4 parts, I think. But that was pretty much all of January. Let me know if you have any other January releases that you're looking for. I'm sure I missed a lot, but I feel like perhaps 2025 is my new release year and I'm gonna be on top of it. I probably just jinxed it now. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another new video, which will be my next new releases video, I think. Yeah, I really appreciate you being here and I'll see you next time.